it doesn't really matter what you call it. Recession, transition, or slowdown. The Democrats are making life miserable, and they aren't going to stop. Now try to imagine adding a war with China on top of all of this. Now why? Well, because, as C.S. Lewis taught us, that those who torment us for our own good will do so without end because they do so with the approval of their own conscience. They have decided that this country is going green no matter what. And how long it's going to take, if we even get there, is just something the little people will have to deal with. Here's one of Biden's court jesters on the Council of Economic Advisors, Heather Boushey.
Heather, I don't know, I'm sure you've seen it. University of Pennsylvania, Wharton School, doing a measure of this Inflation Reduction Act, says actually it's not much of a reduction act at all. In fact, it may increase inflation marginally.
Well, economists have various models. One of the things that we see is that they do not say that it's going to increase inflation. There's also new data coming out from Moody's.com this morning from Mark Zandi, where he's already indicated that his model actually does show that it will lean into inflation reduction. And here's the thing. Core parts of this legislation are going to give significant relief to families by continuing to extend the subsidies to health care through the Affordable Care Act. That will certainly help families that are struggling with costs. Giving the government the ability to negotiate over prescription drugs, that's going to help families with costs. And, of course, all of the energy investments that are going to provide rebates to families who are looking to make that transition to clean energy.
Yeah. Don't bother me with this study from the University of Pennsylvania and the Wharton School of Business or the Joint Committee on Taxation or anyone else. They're all wrong. And yet families are lining up for this. They can't wait for more of it. Well, they are lining up. Headline Daily Mail. I can't even afford groceries. Half of U.S. food banks report growing numbers of households needing handouts. Biden's plan to end hunger by 2030 comes unstuck as prices of eggs, butter, and other basics soar. Quote, nearly half of America's food banks describe rising numbers of people lining up for handouts as inflation puts pantry basics out of reach and the Biden administration's 8-year anti-hunger plan comes unstuck. Householders across the United States told the Daily Mail that eye-watering grocery store prices had pushed them to food pantries for help. Even food bank organizers said inflation was ramping up costs and hampering their ability to assist. The 40-year inflation rate high of 9.1% has put basics from butter to beefsteaks out of reach for many and undercut President Joe Biden's bid to end hunger and improve diets and the levels of physical activity in the U.S. by 2030. Wasn't that long ago that Joe Biden, if you remember this, was screaming about families lining up for food. Inflation is outpacing wages. Well, there they are, lining up for food. But Biden's lucky. See, he has the academics and the media on his side, no matter what. Like Paul Krugman, a guy who won the Nobel Prize for being wrong.
Can we dispense with the recession debate real quick? Are we in a recession, and does the term matter?
No, we aren't, and no, it doesn't. I mean,
one sentence. That was it, huh?
Yeah, that was it. It's none of the usual criteria that real experts use says that we're in a recession right now. And what does matter? The state of the economy is what it is. Jobs are abundant, although maybe the job market is weakening. Inflation is high, though maybe inflation is coming down. What does it matter whether you use the R word or not?
No, what does it matter? No recession. Nothing to see here. Well, people are saying it's a recession, Paul, so what gives?
Yeah, I would say that this is especially vitriolic. I mean, I get, I've been in this business for a couple of decades and get lots of hate mail and see stuff. I've never seen anything as bad as this. The determination of a lot of people to say it's a recession is above and beyond anything I've ever seen.
What do you think is driving that? Just partisanship and polarization getting worse and worse every year, and thus this?
Yeah, it's partisanship. People want it. It's the Biden recession. They want their Biden recession. They're going to have it. Never mind the fact that that it in fact is not a recession in any technical sense.
That's what they want. They want a recession. This guy writes for the New York Times. Again, Nobel laureate. Wrong. He's a Keynesian Marxist leftist. Wrong. On everything. But good thing that Joe Manchin caved in and signed on to a bunch of tax hikes, because raising taxes is really going to get us out of this mess.
Democrats' plans for that new corporate minimum tax would hit the manufacturing industry the hardest. That's according to an analysis by the Joint Committee on Taxation. Under this proposal, companies with $1 billion in profit or more would have to pay at least a 15% tax rate. Right now, that means between 150 and 200 companies would need to pony up. The JCT projects half of them are in the manufacturing sector. Tech and media companies make up 11%. Another 11% are holding companies, and wholesale and retail firms would be affected too. Now, Republicans are slamming this idea, warning about the risk of raising taxes ahead of a potential recession.
Well, I thought they said, there would be no new taxes on people who make less than $400,000. I mean, everybody else, the hell with them, right? Headline, not so fast, Wall Street Journal. The Schumer-Manchin tax increase on everyone. The Senate bill hits U.S. manufacturing especially hard, and it raises taxes on Americans making less than $400,000 a year. Quote, an analysis by the National Association of Manufacturers says the tax in 2023 alone will reduce the real GDP by $68.5 billion and cut labor income by $17.1 billion. One well-known economic truth is that corporations don't really pay taxes. They are essentially tax collectors, as the corporate tax rate ultimately falls on some combination of workers, shareholders, and customers. Raise the corporate tax rate, and you're cutting wages and salaries for workers. No surprise, that's exactly what the Joint Committee on Taxation found in its analysis of the Schumer-Manchin bill's distribution impact. The JCT finds that the average tax rates will increase for nearly every income category in 2023 under this bill. Taxes will rise by $16.7 billion in 2023 on Americans earning less than $200,000 a year. Taxpayers earning between $200,000 and $500,000 will pay $14.1 billion more. This gives the lie to Democratic claims that no one earning under $400,000 will pay more taxes. Under the bill, a promise Mr. Biden also made in his campaign. The reality is that the Schumer-Manchin bill is a tax increase on nearly every American. Pat Toomey pointed out that Manchin either caved in, was bought off, or got taken to the cleaners.
Well, it's going to make inflation worse, actually. So they've got a big corporate tax increase that's going to probably make this recession that we're in worse. All of this spending is unnecessary. It's going to exacerbate inflation. It is not going to reduce the deficit. And what did Senator Manchin get for this? Look, I'm a big fan of Joe Manchin. We are friends, as he said, and I like Joe very much, but I think he got taken to the cleaners. He's agreeing to all this bad policy, in return for which he's been promised that there's going to be some kind of pro-energy infrastructure bill sometime in the future. Well, first of all, I thought we did that in the infrastructure bill. Secondly, what is the text? But most importantly, why isn't that in this bill? And the answer is because Democrats don't support it. So this is going to do a lot of harm, and there's not going to be a corresponding benefit.
Yeah, remember that 87,000 new IRS agents that we thought got tossed when they wanted to look in at $600 transactions? Well, that's back in there, and billions more for the IRS to air fingers, quote, close loopholes. This is going to make matters worse because, as Joe Biden said, we are putting the country on an irreversible path. Guide rails. Those are his words. So they're going to, I told you this, bad is bad, worse is better. Write it down. Write it down and be prepared to repeat it. Bad is bad, worse is better. They know exactly what they're doing. They are turning every American into a dependent. You are going to have to come to government for education, healthcare, transportation, energy, and even food. They're going to do this no matter what.